Hello, and welcome to the first instalment in my series teaching GCSE Latin. I will be making a number of videos explaining each stage of the Cambridge Latin course. Today's video is stage 1 about word order and basic vocabulary. Right, let's get on with some Latin. Word order and translation. Firstly, the word order in Latin is not fixed, like it is in English. Hence, you don't translate the Latin in the same order that the words appear on the page. The placement of verbs is also different. Verbs in Latin are delayed until the end of the sentence. Articles such as a, an, and the are also omitted in Latin texts, but you should include these when translating into English. Finally, Latin only uses capital letters for proper nouns such as names. The first word of a sentence in Latin starts with a lowercase letter, unless it's a proper noun, of course. Now let's have a look at a few words. Canis is a dog. Coquus is a cook. Est means is. Filius is a son. Hortus, garden. In, same as in English, means in. Laborat, works or is working. Mater, mother. Pater means father. Sedet, sits or is sitting. Servus is a slave. And a via is a street. Now let's have a look at a few examples. Metella est mater. Metella is the mother. Caecilius est pater. Caecilius is the father. Quintus est filius. Quintus is the son. Grumio est coquus. Grumio is the cook. Clemens est servus. Clemens is the slave. Cerberus est canis. Cerberus is the dog. Now let's find out where each one of the family members is. Caecilius est in tablino. Caecilius is in the study. Metella est in atrio. Metella is in the atrium, or main room. Quintus est in triclinio. Quintus is in the dining room. Clemens est in horto. Clemens is in the garden. Grumio est in colina. Grumio is in the kitchen. Cerberus est in via. Cerberus is in the street. Now let's look at some harder examples. Pater est in tablino. Pater in tablino scribit. The father is in the study. The father is writing in the study. Metella est in atrio. Mater in atrio sedet. Metella is in the atrium. The mother is sitting in the atrium. Filius est in triclinio. Filius in triclinio bibit. The son is in the dining room. The son is drinking in the dining room. Now it's time for you to have a go to test your understanding. Servus est in horto. Servus in horto laborat. Coquus est in colina. Coquus in colina laborat. Canis est in via. Canis in via dormit. I would like you to translate these, so feel free to pause the video and unpause when you're ready. Now let's go through the answers. Servus est in horto, servus in horto laborat. This means the slave is in the garden, the slave is working in the garden. Coquus est in collina, coquus in collina laborat. This means the cook is in the kitchen. The cook is working in the kitchen. Finally, canis est in via, canis in via dormit. This means the dog is in the street, the dog is sleeping in the street. Well done if you got all of those right. Now let's have a go at a translation. Here is the story of Cerberus. Caecilius est in horto. Caecilius is in the garden. Caecilius in horto sedet. Caecilius is sitting in the garden. Servus est in atrio. The slave is in the atrium. Servus in atrio laborat. The slave is working in the atrium. Metella est in atrio. Metella is in the atrium. Metella in atrio sedet. Metella is sitting in the atrium. Quintus est in tablino. Quintus is in the study. Quintus in tablino scribit. Quintus is writing in the study. Cerberus est in via. Cerberus is in the street. Coquus est in collina. The cook is in the kitchen. Coquus in collina dormit. The cook is sleeping in the kitchen. Cerberus intrat. Cerberus enters. Cerberus circumspectat. Cerberus looks around. Cibus est in mensa. The food is on the table. Now, if we quickly break away from the story, I can explain why I've translated that sentence the way I have. So, cibus est in mensa, you would think that it would be translated as the food is in the table, but it doesn't sound right. So we translate the preposition in more naturally to mean on. So the food is on the table. Back to the story. Canis salit. The dog jumps. Canis in mensa stat. The dog stands on the table. Grumio stertit. Grumio snores. Canis latrat. The dog barks. Grumio surgit. Grumio gets up. Coquus est iratus. The cook is angry. Pestis furcifer. Coquus clamat. Pest, scoundrel. The cook shouts. Cerberus exit. Cerberus goes out. Okay, so we've now covered stage 1 of the Cambridge Latin course. So here's a quick summary. Firstly, the word order in Latin is not fixed, so you don't translate the words in the order that they appear on the page. Verbs are delayed to the end of the sentence in Latin. Articles, such as a, an, and the, are omitted, but you should include them in your English translation. You've been introduced to a few basic words, and you've only been introduced to the present tense. Join me next video, where I will be explaining stage 2.